Welcome to episode 49 of the Twig Snapper Podcast. Today I'm joined by David Jankowski of the Michigan Tech men's hockey team. We're up in the President's Suite, so if you hear any echoing, it's just anything in the ice arena. But how you doing today?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. You had to brave the weather to get here, the cold.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Brutal up here. For anyone who's not familiar with the weather in the UP right now, when I drove in this morning, it was like -5, so it's been pretty brutally cold. I know anyone from Minnesota and that area, they'll understand how cold it is. But I figured we could start by talking about this current season.
Yeah.
One of the series that sticks out to me was the Minnesota State series. I work the rail for every game, so I can get a pretty good view of all the games. And I was talking with people before the game, like everyone's like, how do you think it's going to go? And do you remember, was Minnesota State, were they top 10 when they came in for that series?
I think they were either top 10 or right around there, maybe like 11 or something.
So
like that.
they were pretty highly ranked, and everyone was like, how do you think the series is going to go? And, everyone's kind of hoping for the best, but didn't know. And then you guys came out just firing that first period.
Yeah.
So I guess let's start there. Going into that game, did you guys have a game plan? You guys were just raring and ready to go? Because you guys came out hot.
Right. I mean, I think obviously everyone knows that, Minnesota State's been at the top of the league for however many years now. They've kind of been known for, having successful teams. And then, like you said, our team this year probably didn't have as big of expectations. Just, a lot of unknowns, a lot of young guys, a lot of turnover and whatnot. So I think, we had a pretty good start, even before we played them. And, I think there were still a lot of question marks about us, but we definitely had a good start. And I think that weekend, guys were kind of saying, this could be a statement weekend for us because we did have a good start. But, to start be taken really seriously, this is going to be a huge weekend.
Right.
To, go out there and whether or not we're going to get a couple wins or a split or just, show really well against a good team like that.
Right.
So I think there was, an internal focus from us, maybe even heightened for that weekend, just because we knew that, this is kind of going to be a weekend people are going to look at to, kind of measure our team's success.
Yeah, it's kind of like a turning point weekend. If you attack it, you have some success, it sets you guys in a good place.
Exactly.
But that game was a crazy game to watch. Like we said, you came out firing, you guys built up that lead, and then I'm sure that their coach chewed them out in the intermissions and basically said, we're better than this. Because then in the third period, they came out. And towards the end there, they threw everything they had at you guys. And, it almost seemed like you guys were trying to just hold on there at the end of that first game.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Like you said, we got to a lead there. And we knew, guys were saying, we knew that they were going to get, kind of reamed a little bit. And they were going to be coming with more power than they had. And the biggest thing for us was, be ready for that because they're a good team. They know how to push, and they're going to do that. So I think, at the start of the year, we hadn't really faced something like that before. So, that push, and like you said, we're kind of just trying to hang on there for a while is what it's looked like. And I think that's kind of with any team, until you face that adversity in the season and see that kind of push. I think maybe we were on our heels a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we've worked on, since then. And, protecting leads and staying on our toes, not staying on our heels. But, at that point early in the season, I think maybe as a younger group, we weren't necessarily ready for that. But, we did find a way to, finish that one out. And that was good to see.
You guys, did they score a goal late in the third to make it 3-2?
You know what? I can't exactly remember, but it was something like that. They definitely they're clawing their way back.
Right, yeah. So that was definitely a good win. And then you guys tied the next night. So, you came out of that weekend with points. You got what you wanted. So I think that, like you said, there's definitely a good weekend.
For sure.
One other one I want to talk about is the recent NMU sweep.
Yeah.
Obviously, you guys split with NMU earlier in the year, and they're the biggest rivals you guys have. So obviously these games mean everything. And then with conference stuff coming down the line here, very important games. So let's talk about the first game here. The Max sold out. It's a packed barn.
Yeah. It was just obviously a really good atmosphere, as it always is. But, especially for a weekend against Northern, we knew it was going to be crazy. And, it was. And, I think that was, this is just that first game especially set the tone for the weekend. Just a really complete game by our team. I don't think there was ever any moments where we, got back on our heels too much or, they took it to us. I think we were pretty good at, carrying the pace of play for that game and setting the tempo and dictating the weekend.
Yeah. Those games are always, they've got to be the most exciting games
yeah.
for you guys, like when you play Northern. And I can only imagine what it would be like if you could fight in college hockey without getting like suspensions and stuff. I feel like there'd be some big tillies in those games.
Yeah,
it gets pretty tight. Guys it gets gritty. It gets.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. All of us, or I'm pretty sure all of us are coming from junior hockey where there is fighting. So definitely an adjustment. And you think about that stuff. I'm sure there would be and any of those scrums would probably result in something more. But obviously, there's a lot at stake in college. Fighting is suspension, so
right.
No one wants to put their team at that disadvantage. So people are pretty smart out there. But definitely, if there was fighting allowed, I'm sure you'd see some of that.
Yeah, especially in that series. I'm sure you'd see it in most conference games because you guys, they're important. But your main school rival like that, especially the Northern Tech rivalry, it's one of the best in college hockey. You dealt with some injuries throughout this year, so talk about that, how you had to deal with playing and then injury and then coming back and just all of that throughout your season.
Yeah, I had to deal with one injury, and it actually happened in one of the preseason games before the season actually started, and kind of just progressed and got worse, and it was more of a nagging thing, and eventually got to a point where I had to sit out, and that was kind of at the beginning of the year. So I think I played our first game in Ferris, and then I had to miss the next 8 or 9 games with that injury, and it was just an upper body thing that was really nagging, and having that time off, having to watch is really tough, especially at the beginning of the year when the excitement level's so high.
Yeah.
So, finally start playing games after.
And you're in a new program, it's your first year here, and you don't even get to start off the way you wanted.
Exactly, yeah. That was tough, mentally, just trying to, get back as soon as I can, but knowing that, you got to do what's right, and, if you go back too early, then you're going to be out for longer. So, just trying to stay positive throughout that experience, and finally, when I was able to come back, I think I was ready, and the coaching staff and Tyler Shalas put me through a lot of conditioning stuff to make sure, even when I was out, I was staying up in shape and everything like that. So I think when I came back, it was the first couple of games were probably a little tough just to get back into game shape because nothing really simulates that.
Right.
But then after that, it was pretty good.
Yeah, and you said you had strep throat down at the Desert Classic.
Yeah, that was a tough week for me. So we were at the GLI, and then flew right to Arizona from there, and I think it was the second or third day. I got strep throat and just put me out for probably a week straight. Yeah. And I didn't even leave my hotel room in Arizona. It was tough.
That's brutal. You get to go down to some warm weather and brand new rink and all this stuff that you're looking forward to, and then you get strep throat here.
Exactly. It was a tough week. Seeing all the guys too. Going out and doing some activities in the sun and everything like that. And it was probably terrible timing for that, but it is what it is, and
nothing you can do.
Stuff happens during the season. Guys get sick, and just gotta deal with it.
Just gotta roll with it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's switch gears here and kind of work backwards. And coming out of St. Lawrence, what stood out to you about Tech? Why did you end up picking Tech? And I'm sure you had other schools that reached out to you too.
Yeah, for sure. So, at the end of my senior season there at St. Lawrence, I had to sit down with my family, my advisor, and just kind of the people close to me, and try and figure out what the best course of action would be, whether that be to try and go pro right away, whether it be to, maybe do another year at St. Lawrence, or whether it be to enter the transfer portal. And, I think I really wanted to take advantage of, the 5th year of that was offered to every athlete because of COVID.
Yeah.
And, just use that as an opportunity to get an education as well, like a master's degree somewhere. And I think when I looked at it, St. Lawrence, I absolutely loved my 4 years at St. Lawrence, and I will never have anything bad to say about them. The thing is with St. Lawrence is that they don't really have any master's programs that really appeal to me. I think they only had one that was offered, and it was really in something that wouldn't really be beneficial to me going forward. So I think at that point I decided to look in the transfer portal and just see what was out there, and maybe if I could find a good fit that has the hockey piece I was looking for, as well as a good educational piece. And like you said, there were some schools that reached out to me, and including Michigan Tech here, and when I talked to the coaching staff here, they mentioned that they had an MBA program, which is right what I was looking for, and obviously a very good school. It's well renowned for its academics, and obviously hockey as well. They've been a really solid team the last number of years. And that was something I was looking for. At St. Lawrence, we were a growing program. I think when I came in, we were kind of in the bottom part of the rankings there. And as we went through my 4 years, we were climbing. We never had that winning season or like top of the. We did win a conference championship, overall never had like a winning record. Never really were in a position to be in the tournament. Aside from winning the conference championship there. So I think when I combined going to a school with a really good hockey program who's been a contender as well as the NBA program, I think that's kind of what solidified my decision here in coming here.
I saw all the pieces. Just kind of they just fell in place and they fit. So let's talk about St. Lawrence for a little bit. I mean, let's talk about, I guess, one of the big moments in every hockey player's life is you score your first college goal, your first pro goal. So let's talk about your first college goal. Everyone remembers it. Kind of just take us through the moment.
Yeah, we were. So it was my freshman year at St. Lawrence. We were on the road. We were actually at the University of Minnesota at Marucci Arena, and it was a power play goal, and it was actually probably maybe the nicest goal I'll ever score in my career. To be honest, I don't know if I've ever scored one nicer than this. It's just funny how it works like that. But it was a power play. I was kind of in front of the net, and whoever was at the point took a slap shot, and the goalie kind of blockered it straight up in the air. So I was kind of tracking it, and as it came down, I kind of took a baseball swing at it, and I caught it in midair, and it went in, and I celebrated pretty hard after that one. Just super excited to finally get that achievement, and it's something you dream about. So
especially like you said, a little more unique. It's not just some goals. Obviously, every goal you like scoring, but some are more exciting than others. Like you said, that one.
Yeah.
Like the nicest goal. Yeah. And that's the first one, so it's gonna stick out.
Exactly. And I think it also kind of added to it that it was against a historic program like University of Minnesota. That's a school that's very well renowned, and they've been around for a long time and had a lot of success. And to do it in their rink against them, they kind of added to it a little bit.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, like the opponent when you play against a historic program, good program. Obviously, they're always top 10, top 15 every year too. I mean, just all of that adds to the experience, opposed to like if you score against a lower tier team. It's like, it's still your first goal, but maybe it's just a little less exciting. And then also at St. Lawrence, one other thing I wanted to touch on is you were captain your senior year. How did you guys pick captains? Was it player selected or coaches picked?
I think every year I was at St. Lawrence, it was kind of a coaches pick. I was a captain my senior year. I had a co-captain, Caden Pickering, who's actually playing at Bemidji right now. He's doing his 5th year there. So I'll actually see him this weekend coming up. And then we had one assistant captain as well. But so we had 3 of us. But on that team, we had a lot of leaders. It wasn't just the guys wearing letters. But I was really, really happy that the team trusted me in that role, and the coaching staff trusted me in that role. It was just super, super fun to be able to have that responsibility. Like I said, I love the school, I love the hockey program there, and it's just a huge honor.
Right, and and it helps that you said the team had a lot of leaders. So like you guys were all working together. It wasn't just like the 3 guys with letters and everyone else. When you've got a team like that, it makes everything easier. It makes you guys more cohesive as a team, and just everything about the season better. Is that the year you guys won the conference championship?
It's not actually. The year before, so my junior year is the year we won the conference championship.
Yeah.
Again, we had a really good leadership group that year as well, who moved on after we won there. But I think we learned a lot from them, and going through that playoff run to win a championship, you pick up a lot of stuff along the way there, and stuff that we tried to implement going forward.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's switch gears here and talk about your family, your hockey family. You got your brother Mark, who's playing at Nashville, right?
Yep.
And then your dad played at Cornell.
Yep.
And your grandpa Lou played in the NHL with the Blackhawks.
Yep.
And then your great uncle Red Kelly, obviously very famous hockey name. So I guess let's just start talking about like you growing up around all of that, and with your older brother, your dad, your grandpa, your uncle.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I grew up with it, right? So I think right away, as soon as I could put skates on, I was out there. It was just kind of a given, And my parents would never, force me to do something that I didn't want to do. It wasn't like that, but I think that was one of the first things they tried for sure. Yeah. And I fell in love with it right away. And obviously my brother, my dad, just being there every day. I always wanted to be like my brother too. So I saw him playing hockey. I'm sure it's the first thing I wanted to do. So like any kid. So
right.
Follow in the footsteps of your family.
And then it had to have helped growing up, like to have all these guys who have had success at different levels, like kind of in your back pocket to help you develop.
Yeah,
it had to have helped.
Yeah, for sure. Just having those resources, just at the tip of my fingers was crazy.
Right.
You could bounce stuff off them whenever you wanted to, and get advice that a lot of other people don't have access to, and I think you take that a little bit for granted when you're going through it because you don't realize how fortunate you are to have those resources. But definitely as I got older, and I'm getting older still, and trying to lean on them as much as I can. Yeah.
Do you keep in touch with your brother much, or is it hard with him? In the NHL, obviously super busy.
Yeah, it's definitely busy. We both have really busy schedules, but we keep in touch. We probably text every day.
Yeah.
We're very, very close, and I try and watch as many of his games as I can. Whenever I'm available, and he does the same for me, and we'll text each other after our games and stuff, and talk through it and stuff a little bit, which is nice.
Right. It's kind of nice to have that. Somebody who's closer to your age, even that you can talk about stuff to. You can talk to your dad, but it's just a little bit different when it's your brother.
Yeah.
And, a little bit closer in age, he understands the way the game is now.
Yeah.
Because obviously the game's changed a lot since your dad's played.
Yeah.
And it just keeps changing. So let's just wrap it up here with a couple of different questions. Obviously, playing at St. Lawrence and then playing here, you've been in different conferences, so you've faced a variety of opponents and then non-conference opponents. What do you think is the coolest barn you've played in, like a away barn that you've traveled to?
Yeah, I mean, I've played in, like you said, a bunch of different rinks now, and got to see some really cool ones along the way. A couple that stand out to me are, obviously Yost, Michigan. We got to play there my freshman year, and that's just a really, really cool looking rink.
Oh yeah.
A lot of history there, obviously. Princeton has a really, really interesting rink. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's called the Hobie Baker.
I can't remember some of those Ivy League school rinks. They which school's rink is which kind of blend together in my mind because they all have pretty historic.
Yeah, they do.
Rinks.
They do. But that's another one that stands out. Just I think it's one of the oldest rinks in college hockey, and a lot of history with Hobie Baker, obviously. And,
right.
Just a really kind of cool looking building. Definitely has that Ivy League feel to it. The boards I think are cement. Which still, you could probably use a couple upgrades, but I don't know if they're going to. But it's just a really cool looking rink.
Right.
And then another one would be Cornell. Obviously, my dad played there. Same rink that he played in his college days, and those were actually the first college games that I ever went to. Was when he would take us to Cornell, not too far from home. So that was my first college experience. Going to those games at Cornell, and then years later playing in that conference. And going there every year. Every time I'd walk in there, it was pretty cool. Going around, walking around, seeing my dad's picture on the wall, the team photos, and just kind of being on the ice and imagining myself, back in the day, being a kid in the stands was pretty cool.
Right. I mean, the fact that your dad played there, and then like you said, that you grew up going to those games, all of those factors had to make that just a very special place to play. So then, kind of piggybacking off that, what place had the craziest, wildest fans? You'd go into that barn knowing that those fans are just going to be nuts.
Yeah, so I've been really fortunate to play for St. Lawrence and Michigan Tech because I think the two home sets of fans at both of these schools are just incredible.
Yeah.
probably top of the tier when it comes to fans.
Definitely.
At both places, so that's been great. But in terms of the road, obviously Northern, it's pretty hostile when we go in there. The couple games I played there, and you're going to get that with rivalries. Same as St. Lawrence, our rival was 15 minutes down the road at Clarkson. So whenever we would play there, we were getting screamed at, yelled at, booed at every single time we played there. And those are the most fun games to play when you're going to places like that.
Right.
And then Cornell, honestly, they're really well known for, I think the line of faithful is what they call them. And, they are some of the craziest fans in college. So playing at Cornell in a packed barn, it's a small little rink, and they feel like they're on top of you, and they're chanting the whole game. It's pretty crazy.
Right. It makes it better. I mean, obviously, with all that COVID stuff playing without fans, everyone kind of got that taste of like how much the fans really mean. How much that like electric atmosphere kind of helps the game flow and helps like the speed of the game. So if you have a place where the fans aren't into it, or obviously then when you play in those atmospheres you've been talking about, it's definitely cherry on top to make it a better experience, more memorable and helps the game. Obviously at home it's better, than when you go into an away barn. Those fans are going to be helping their team. But.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, I figured we could wrap it up here. I'm a big uniform jersey buff. I don't know. I love jerseys and uniforms in sports. So Tech's got some pretty neat different combinations. Which one is your favorite?
Yeah, I think like you said, there's so many good options here. I was surprised when I came about how many jersey options we had, but I think from a looks aspect, the creams, the cursive Huskies writing, I think those look really sharp. So I really enjoy wearing those. I also really like, we actually got new black jerseys this year. I think they made a couple adjustments. They put all black on the back now instead of the stripe going all the way around.
Yeah.
And I think that looks really good too.
I'm a big fan of the whites with the circle and I don't know. I just think that the white's kind of crisp when you guys are playing at home. And, it's kind of nice when you say you guys played the other weekend. You guys had those on.
Yeah, we wore them against Northern.
Yeah.
First game.
So I mean, I don't know. I would have to say that's my favorite. But like you said, there's so many here.
Like you really can't go wrong with any of our jerseys. Like
right.
You can go through the list and make an argument for each one being the best. So.
Yeah. I feel like now in hockey, college hockey, pro hockey, you have to have a lot of different like alternate uniforms.
Yeah.
You see it with the NHL, the reverse classics, and everyone's got alternates, and you've got military nights and all these other things.
Exactly.
You kind of have to have a variety. You can't just have your home and away and one other.
It's definitely the way things are trending. It's kind of like I think it's kind of big and not a huge piece, but in recruiting, it looks pretty cool to go to a school where you got a ton of different jerseys and everyone's trying to keep up with the next team now, and got to add this, got to add that, got to have these renovations, got to add these jerseys. So it's definitely the way it's trending for sure.
Between facilities and jerseys, obviously places like Arizona State are going to be able to use the new rink as a selling piece. Hey, come here and play in this state-of-the-art facility. Then again, you've got rinks like Princeton that are going to say, hey, come play in this classic barn. So there's both sides of it, and it's the same thing with jerseys when they pull back those retro looks or they make something new.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. So thanks for joining me on this episode of the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.